Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Success Innovation. Today we'll talk about how to prepare for retirement. Let's get started.
Generally, no. They just sort of tell me, unfortunately, we weren't able to follow up with you, so we won't be moving forward with you. Is that something I should be asking at the end of the interview? They have any feedback for me?
Yeah, it's kind of, like Lazaro said, this is kind of subjective at some point because, whether they like you or you have all the qualifications or whatever. Yeah, I think it would be on your behalf to say, I know I wasn't selected. Is there anything that I can do to improve my position with the company? Because if you don't know why you didn't get selected, there's elements, and some are going to be, they're not going to tell you. They're just going to say, no, you just weren't considered because da 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 da. But if you can get an inkling of why, what elements maybe in your resume or your interview you were lacking, you can work on those. And that's the hard part is getting those key elements that you need to better yourself on. And sometimes, like Laszlo says, the interviewees there's going to be some subjectiveness that they won't share with you, and so you're going to you take whatever you have. And I think the best thing is once you do the interview and the resume is to do a intro inspection of yourself. What did I do? What did I say? Da 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 da. And maybe you can say, oh, maybe I could have filled in here or added to or whatever. So that's something you're going to have to learn how to do, is do that introspection and say, was I strong in this or wasn't? And you can talk to other people, like Lazaro, myself. You can say, hey, this is what happened. And then hopefully we can give you some insight to how it make it better the next time.
Yeah. Lourdes, you had your hand up?
Yeah, like Mike was saying, you can ask them in person, or usually you can also send a follow-up email saying, hey, I wasn't selected, but is it possible to get some constructive feedback? I would really appreciate it. Sometimes they're kind enough that, like, not a lot of people ask that they'll actually like give you an answer. Well, that's HR appropriate, but it's still an answer.
Yeah. Thank you, Lourdes. Along those lines, regardless of whether you get the job or not, and within 24 hours or a couple hours after the interview, I would suggest, and I don't know if you do this or not, follow up with an email saying thank you for the opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. And if there's 3 or 4 people in the panel, make sure that one, you jot down their names, right? Or look at the actual email invite for the meeting if it's online to see if you can find their email and try to send them an email, personalized email saying thank you, and focus on something that person mentioned or spoke about, or something in particular that you found interesting about the job, or about their personal perspective or life or whatever they share with you, right? Make it personable to them and say, thank you so much for the opportunity, for sharing this, et cetera, et cetera. I am really looking and hoping to be part of whatever team you're applying to and whatever position it is. I look forward to any feedback or any follow-on opportunities that you might have, right? And you're literally asking for feedback right away. But once again, if you do get that automated email saying, we couldn't, or you're not selected for this, et cetera, reach back out to them and say, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the response. I did get a email indicating that I was not selected for this particular position. Is there any opportunity that you could share with me feedback on what I should be focusing on, or how I did, or if there's any other opportunities that I might be suited for, please keep me under consideration. Leave that door open for future opportunities. Sometimes they do save the emails. Sometimes they do remember your name if you apply to other positions. So just keep that in mind, right? Okay.
Thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, well, thank you so much for joining Cafecito Chats. Today, we're talking to Victor, trying to help him out a little bit. He's going through the process. Also, be aware that it's going to take between 6 to 7 months. Right now, the market, the job search is really saturated, so it's going to take between 6 to 7, maybe 8 months. If you're not strapped for cash, for making ends meet, you might be okay. If you are strapped for making ends meet, that's a different story. You could definitely do some other stuff, get a part-time job in the meantime. But right now, if you're still okay financially, keep your head up and continue the search and continue making progress. And every single instance that you go through an interview, it's a learning process for you, right? You get a little more comfortable, a little more sure of yourself, confidence level goes up, and it just shows that you're going to be moving forward a little better. Today's topic in Cafecito Chat is how can you start saving for retirement? How do you begin saving for retirement? One of the things that we normally hear about is 401ks. When do you invest in 401ks? Is there other types of investments that you can do? How do you actually prepare for this when you're even for Victor or somebody that's still looking for a job? Is this something that they should be aware of? And once you actually have a job, what can you do? Should you take advantage of the 401k match plan? Should you do CD? Should you do any other external Roth IRAs or any of those other accounts, right? And how much do you actually need in order to retire? Well, right now, it really depends, and it's the economy is really expensive. So it really depends on your lifestyle and your confidence of how you really want to live and the actual debt that you're in. If you have less debt, then you can do away with a little bit less expenses. A lot of corporations in the past used to have pensions. Now, a lot of corporations do not have pensions. And those that actually still have pensions, the pensions have been reduced tremendously. And with that, let's get the conversation started. So let's go with Mr. Mike Cruz first. He's a retired individual. He did not necessarily have a full-on 401k. He relied more on the pension, but he also has other little bits of investments that he probably did during his lifetime. So he's not necessarily an expert, but he's a living proof of how to retire satisfactory here in California, particularly San Diego. Sir, any insight that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I guess for the young people today, it's a whole different world than what I grew up. I worked for the government for 35 years, so I have a government pension, and I have cost of living increases. I also worked to get enough quarters for Social Security, and so now I have the Social Security as well as my retirement. I didn't do any investments early on because I knew what my pay was going to be, and the goal, which I learned from a financial advisor about 10 or 15 years into my career, was the savings goal, or the amount of money that you want to have at retirement at that time, which is some years ago, might be a little bit higher, is 70%. Think about when you retire, if you're making 150,000, then 70% of that is what you want to retire on, with the concern that your debt is low. Your house, if you have a home, it's paid off. If you have cars, credit cards, they're all paid off. When you retire, you want to be debt free. That is a goal. And I did achieve that when I did retire. So for your younger people, the pensions are not there anymore. So you have to get into the stock market, whether you like it or not. And when at grad school, I learned that the stock market is it's a business. So if you're going to be in the stock market and doing investments for yourself, whether it's in real estate or in the stock market per se, know what you're getting into, know what the markets are, know what the investment strategies are. So you can have to have a little bit of an MBA as you go through your career about your future. And the thing is, a lot of people, we like California. We want to stay here. Well, I was fortunate enough to buy my house a long time ago, and all I have to do is reinvest into that property. And fortunately, our parents, they left us something. And so that's another thing that you can kind of be aware of, that you may come into some property or whatever. And there's some windfalls. We've had a couple of windfalls in my life after I retired. So my assets have really gone up. So especially in real estate here in Southern California, if your parents passed on a little two bedroom house in Southern California, you're almost a millionaire. So be aware of that, and don't plan on it, but those things do crop up and come by. That's the positive side. And then you have the negative side too on retirement. If you have any medical issues or catastrophes or whatever, you'll have to deal with that. But so like I told my daughter in the beginning, what is your retirement plan, wherever you work? And she told me, I don't know, Dad. Yeah, I'm going, what? And she's 20 years into her career now, but she worked for the California teachers. So I'm sure she's got a retirement plan within that. And she's also putting money into it when she works in summer school and whatever. So yes, she is doing that. She did buy a house early on, not as prosperous as I would have liked, but at least she has some property. So I think Lourdes had mentioned that, looking at property, looking at real estate, maybe to invest in on a side. And I've known several engineers that's what they've done. That's how they're making their extra money, is in real estate. And so as their professions grow, they take that money and they're reinvested it in real estate. So that's something you need to think about. It's not a 401k or something that you can rely on a little bit better, but the markets also seem to be favorable if you can get into it. So I think at this point, for all you young people, know what your options are, know what your company provides you with. If it's a matching IRA or whatever, max it out, and make the big thing is automatic withdrawals from your pay. That's the easiest way to do it. For me, my retirement plan was an automatic, which I never noticed it. After a while, you get used to what you spend on, and that automatic withdrawal towards your retirement just becomes a part of you. And so automatic withdrawals toward retirement, I think, is something that you really, really, really want to do. It's hard to look at that paycheck and say, oh, I got to take out 10% and put it in there. If you do it automatically, you never see it.
Yeah.
You never see it in the beginning, and it doesn't become hard to do. So automatic withdrawals, know what your retirement options are with that company, and then outside the company. So you're going to have to make some decisions about investments, like Lazo says. Investments are important. If you want to get help, if you got somebody that can give you advice financially, do that. If you want a financial planner early on, I would just say be aware of that. That could be an option for you to help you with your savings plan and your goals for the future. So good luck to you all.
Thank you, sir. That's great insight, great perspective. As Mr. Mike Cruz alluded to, you should at least start thinking about how to invest, right? For example, Victor, not to put you on the spot, but you're the youngest one here that just graduated. You're probably thinking, damn, this conversation is not really applicable to me. I'm looking for a job. I can't even retire, right? Well, there's different applications that you can start looking into. If you have $10, $5 that you can put away on a monthly basis, you can start playing with Robinhood or Moomoo account or Webull. Some of those applications that actually start putting your money to use, right? Or if you have $500, $1,000 that you can say, I can put this in a high yield savings account. So a high yield savings account right now with Capital One, at least, I know that it's 3.5. Most CDs are, a CD, a certificate of deposit, if you have money, you need between $1,000 to $5,000, depending on what type of CD you're doing or certificate of deposit, depending on the bank. You definitely do have to do more research on this. But if you put that CD in a bank, it's literally freezing your money. So it really depends on what you want to do, how you want to navigate that. Most CDs right now are between 4.25 and 5%. Promotionally, you'll get a 5% CD, but that's really on the high end, and you really have to have about $20,000 to $25,000 to put in. For a normal CD that's between 3.75 to about 4.25 on any given bank, you'll have to have between $1,000 to $5,000. But once again, that money gets frozen up. So if you're in an emergency and you really say, oh, if I pull out of that CD, I'll have some money, et cetera, there's penalties to it. So it really behooves you to better start off with a high yield savings account. And I see, Lourdes, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I have a question about CDs. So is there a certain contract that is frozen for like a year, 2 years, 5 years, and that affects the percentage? Or like you're talking long term, or it depends very much on the bank?
It really depends on the bank. So, for example, I've had CDs with Wells Fargo and with US Bank. There's promotions that go between 3 to 4 months, right? And they give you, when it was really good, they would give you 5%, and you don't really have to have a lot. So that was a couple years ago. And then during the pandemic and a little bit before that, during the housing crash market, it went down to like 1.25. That was the best you could find on CDs. But once again, it depends on the bank, it depends on the promotion. If you just go to the website and you decide to put your CD in whatever they have, they normally have the normal ones go from 6 months to about a year to 18 months to 24 months. But that freezes your money, and you can't really move it, invest it, reinvest it in anything else. If you do pull it out before the term ends, there's a penalty, monetary penalty that you get charged. If you, right now, and I've looked into this, if you look at high yield savings accounts, for example, Capital One has 3.5, and they also have a CD that if you have $1,000 or $1,500, you can get 6 months for 5% interest. So that's a really good CD, and that's a short period of time, and that's a low amount of money. For bigger banks, brick and mortar banks, they will give you less percentage and ask you for more actual money funds to be able to open CDs and tie you for between 5 to 7 to 8 months to give you that promotion that's right now at 4.75 more or less. So it's really up to you on what you want to do. Does that kind of answer your question? Let's go to Mr. Mike Cruz, and then Lourdes, let us know if that answers your
Yeah,
question.
Lourdes, I'm currently in that CD mode. I have a couple of CDs with federal credit unions. I think the one thing you need to be aware of is like Lazaro says, there's different time frames and different APRs that you're going to get. If you do your homework, you'll notice that the CDs, the shorter ones may have say 3 point. They may be 4 point something, but they're shorter. But what they do is, if you look at how they want to pay you back, they want to make money, so they want to reduce the risk. So if you look at the 6, 12, and 18th month, you'll see an increase and decrease in percentage rates, and they may peak out at 12 because they figure they can offer that best rate and for 12 months, but at 18 months it goes down because the risk is higher, or the risk is even in the short term, they may want more money. So it's a kind of awareness thing. You need to look at the rates that they're offering. Go to the websites, see what the percentages are, and see what the time frames are. So for me, I do the longest I can because it's money in the bank, and I go for 18 months. But the other thing is you need to be aware of the federal rate. Okay, for a long time it was 0%. I mean, we got nothing for many years, and all of a sudden it popped up to 5 to 4 point something. So we jumped in the market at that time. So now it's back down below 4. Most CDs will be below 4 for any time period, et cetera. And then you'll notice, okay, so I'm with Federal Credit Union, but you'll see in the newspaper all the time, 5% from this institution, financial institution. And I don't know who they are or what they are, but they'll give you 5% for whatever. So beware, make sure they're FDIC, and assuming your money investment is safe. So, go with the banks. That's the safer one. But these things in the paper, they'll give you a high percentage, and they may be okay. I haven't been there. You may want to try it out. But again, you have to be aware of the rates they're offering and the time frames, and it's all based upon the market. It's going to go up and down. We just renewed a couple of CDs, and what they did is they optimized our return. We went a little bit longer with a lower rate because actually that gave us more return than a shorter term with a higher rate. So you need to be aware of that too. Do your calculations. 5% at 9 months versus 4 point something at 18 months. Calculate your return, and you may find out, oh, I get more this way, and if I can assume I don't have to deal with this money for this period of time. That's a choice you're going to have to make.
Yeah. And for those CDs, when you have to go either onto the website of the bank or in person and sign a document. For example, Wells Fargo has made me go in person to make sure that I sign those documents. And they before it used to be paper signature, but now they have a little screen and you sign there. For a US bank, I could go ahead and it's different for every bank. I can go online and simply transfer money from my savings account into what they call a CD, and I get that rate. And I have to click a couple agreement buttons, and then it does ask me to digitally sign. So you're signing, but it's a digital signature versus Wells Fargo, which requires you to go in person. Those are the two banks that I have had the most experience with at this moment. With Capital One, I do have an account with this entity that is online, and for that one, it's a high yield savings account, and right now it's at 3.5% APY. And it's not a CD, it's a checking savings account that, for example, it's getting more than what I was getting with some of the CDs in the past, but I can move that money around. I don't move it because I get more money off of that. But once again, at the end of the year, whatever money you actually get in return, you have to declare that in your income tax. So don't be afraid of declaring money. It also behooves you to understand how to fill out your tax declarations and learn a little bit about that. If you feel like, you know what, I don't really want to do my 1040s C or A or whatever it is, go ahead and find a financial advisor that can help you with the tax forms, and they might give you a little bit of loopholes here and there, depending on what you want to do. So that's something that we really have to get into at another conversation, but that's an interesting topic. So hope, Mr. Mike Cruz, yes, sir.
Yeah, real quick. I'm in the inevitable position that I have to do estimated tax for my for the interest that I get on my CDs. They're high enough that they do affect my overall revenue, and so we're in the mode that we have significant interest coming off the CDs, and so we have to do estimated tax. So be aware of that. Because if you have an investment and it's really paying good, and you forget about your tax liability, it could be a shock. So be aware.
Does that answer in a roundabout way, Lourdes, your question about CDs?
Yeah, I personally have a market savings account just because I like the flexibility, just in case something bad happens, I can pull money out, like emergency stuff. But I do like learning more about the financial side of things. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, of course. And a money market account, I'm assuming that's what it is, right? So a money market account, you have to, for that, I don't know if the bank you have actually requires you to keep a certain limit. Is that still accurate or not anymore?
There's like brackets. I think I have like almost online just because it pays more than the regular bank. So I have Ally.
Okay.
and they have brackets on the percentage. Like I think it's like 1,000 to 10,000, and then 10,000 to 20,000, and then 20,000 to like 50,000, and then it gets a little bit higher.
Okay. And what's the percentage that you're getting on that?
I think it's 3.5.
3.5. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of online banks, one, can do a little bit better than brick and mortar just because they have less spends or expense, formal expenses or end expenses that they need to pay. So they really can do a little bit better than regular conventional banks. And as Lourdes alluded to, she has Ally, and you can definitely look into Ally or any other online banking entities that have been established for a while. Go to their websites directly. Don't click on any promotional links that you get. They might take you to a different website and they might try to scam you in that regard, right? Okay, so do we have any questions about CDs and or some type of online investment at this point before we move on? Yes, Lourdes.
And I just want to say to the chat or the group that it is FDIC. Like your money is protected, because I have to read the fine print and everything. That was one of the biggest concerns, and it is.
Yeah, so FDIC, it's I don't remember what it stands for. It's a federal insurance policy, I think. Most banks have that, and they literally guarantee your money up to $250,000 if you have that much amount in a bank. To be insured in case anything happens, right? Or in case somebody hacks into your account, or in case somebody gets a hold of your ATM, credit card, or whatever it is that you have with that particular entity, and they will insure that money up to $250,000. Some banks a little bit more, but that's what FDIC does for you. If an entity does not have an FDIC, that's a little iffy and risky because if you want to put your money in there, that means that the money is not insured. So be aware of it. I know that a lot of us are saying, well, I don't have $250,000 to put in there, so I'm okay. Well, you'd be surprised, $1,000, if you lose it, hurts a lot. So just make sure that you're aware of where you're putting your money in there. Okay, for those entities. Moving on, if we have any other questions about different banks or different CDs or different entities at the moment. Okay, we're moving on to 401k. So 401ks, what is a 401k? A 401k is literally a bucket of money that you put in. A company has this program for the employee basis that started maybe in the early 90s, back in the last century, where a lot of money was being diverted. I think it started under Bush Jr., that he started the 401k to be more prevalent for employees, and the companies weren't really being quote unquote burdened with the pension system anymore. And you, as the employee, quote unquote, had a little more control of how to invest and how to grow your money faster. That was the whole idea behind creating the 401k. Well, that kind of hasn't really taken off for a lot of people. The corporations actually do hire third-party entities to go ahead and manage funds. And what I've seen happens in the past, it wasn't really managed by anybody. You, as the individual, were the one managing it. Well, as third-party entities came in, they started making different investment funds. And for example, if you are part of the industry, you have probably noticed that you're put into this bracket of retirement fund of 2044, or that's just an example, or 2048 or 2051. And that gives the company an idea, okay, if this individual is hired at this date, we estimate 40, 35 years of service. This is where they actually fall. This is the retirement date. This is the bracket that will put him in. So the third party entity will go ahead and at the beginning of your career, they'll be quote unquote a little more aggressive in the way that they actually get the mutual fund portfolio structure for that particular age bracket. As time progresses, they become a little more conservative to be able to safeguard your money and your earnings. On average, you will see between a 5 to 10% for those actual funds or brackets that you fall under. But if you are an individual that really wants to manage and navigate your money yourself, you can go into the 401k website of that third party and select a Vanguard growth stock, or go directly into, for example, if you work with Northrop Grumman, you can go and buy directly Northrop Grumman stock shares, and you'll definitely grow that company stock in your portfolio. But you, going back to Mr. Mike Cruz's comment earlier, have to be savvy and knowledgeable as to how the market is doing. Be aware that if you look at this and all of a sudden there's a boom in, for example, conflict in overseas, the market's probably going to do well for that particular Department of Defense. So Northrop Grumman's probably going to go up. This is just an example. If for some reason there's an issue, if you invested in Boeing and there was an aircraft that fell off the sky, your stock and your shares will probably go down. So just be wary of what you're looking into. And this is your retirement. So it's more of a long-term investment. So do not operate on emotion. That's something that I got to tell you. Do not operate on emotion. Look at it sporadically. If this is your long-term investment, look at it maybe every 6 months. Make sure that you're still, your dependents are up to date, your information, your address, your phone number, your password is still active, and don't really worry about the balance too much necessarily. It'll slowly grow over the year. Look at the year growth is between 5 to 10%. It's normally what I've seen on different investments for the 401k. On an annual basis, I would suggest, going back to Mr. Mike Cruz, increase it by 1%. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but after a while, 1% adds up and incrementally makes you a little bit richer in that regard. I would start it off with, for example, if you start at Northrop Grumman, we get 4% match. Up to 4%, we get 100% match. So I started with 4%. So that means that if I put $100, they would match me with $100. Other companies might have different type of matches. Some companies actually have 50% up to whatever X number or percentage of your salary. So if you have that, make sure that you know what you're putting into and put up to at least the minimum amount of whatever your company's matching. Otherwise, you lose out on that particular, people call it free money. It's not necessarily free money, because until you actually touch it, you get it. That's when you have it. But make sure that you benefit from having that contribution from your corporation on your account, investing for you in that regard. So does that make sense? Does it bring up any questions? It was very, very generic, to be honest with you. Do we have any questions from anybody at this point in regards to 401ks? Okay, so going forward into outside investments. I mentioned Robinhood, Moomoo, Webull. Those are online investment platforms. You can definitely open one up. It will ask you for your social security number. It will ask you for your bank account number. It will ask you for that type of information. What that does is it creates a social security tax declaration for the IRS. So you're literally getting yourself into the stock market and you're becoming a trader. So what that means is you have the ability to look up symbols like Apple, General Motors, Ford, Nvidia, and you can look at Facebook or Meta, and or any ticker symbol that you want, right? I would advise you to start off, if you really want to go into the stock market. It's a scary feeling when you're starting to do it by yourself, but start off easy, and it's a roller coaster, to be honest with you. So make sure that you take the money that you do not need And that's why I said start off small with maybe $10, $50 a month and invest it into whatever stock you feel comfortable with. Yes, sir, Mr. Mike Cruz?
Yeah, I want to take a step back.
Yep.
The investment is a strategy that you implement. At grad school, we took the what is it? The not the New York Times, but the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
I never read the Wall Street Journal, and I wasn't up on business, but it got me aware of what businesses were and how they grew and elements of it. The other thing is the Wall Street is one source for your to help you understand investments in the financial world. The other one is your daily newspaper has a business section in it. I always scan the business section and see, what companies are doing good, what companies are laying off. It has a lot of the business structure that's in the newspaper that you need to be aware of as you go. If you do a daily routine of scrutinizing the daily news, always scan the business section. It's going to give you some insight to, hey, do I want to invest in this company, or is this company really good? It'll give you some insight to companies. And so when you think about investments, it's all about companies and their place in the marketplace. That's what you're investing in. You're investing in, if it's Oreo cookies, you're invested in that company that makes Oreo cookies, and are they making good money? And is their returns growing, et cetera, et cetera. So the stock market is all about companies. And so you're going to be invested in companies. So what do you need to know? You need to know some information about the company currently, past history, and future predictions, because that's what it's all about. It's about understanding the company's place in the marketplace. And it's not just locally, it's globally. If you like for me, I'm always interested in bicycles. So, what companies is making money in bicycles? What companies are failing? What ones didn't hit the market? And so those are all the things that if you have an interest in the stock market, pick some companies that you would like to understand and grow with, because that's going to be your companion for the future. Is you're going to pick some companies and you're going to grow, and some are going to be mega companies, like 3M or Ford or whatever. And you're just going to be part of it. You're going to have to pick part of that company that you want to be interested in. So for me, I've never been in the stock market because I was afraid of it. But the thing is, knowledge is key. The more knowledge that you have about that company and its future or potential future is going to be your future. So back step before you do the investment. If you're going to get into the stock market, understand the stock market, understand companies, and all the aspects of it.
Thank you, sir. Lourdes, you have your hand up?
Yes, I'm intrigued on you guys' opinions on stocks versus bonds. Just like your personal take on that, if it's possible.
My understanding of bonds, and I'll let Mr. Mike Cruz chime in after. My understanding of bonds is they have a fixed percentage, and they have a life term that you have to keep them for when you actually go into them. It's more like a government CD of sorts, from what I've seen, and the stock market is regulated more by the perception of the public in the confidence level of how that company is performing. For example, on the stock market, if 47 actually says, the market and the job report is really good, or the tariff, we have a deal, then the stock market goes up because the confidence level is happy, right? For the bonds, they are set, they will not move, they're stable, they're more conservative, there's minimum risk of losing your money on that. Stock market, all of a sudden, they find a CEO and they take pictures and it goes on Instagram that this guy is fumbling drunk and he has a mistress. Well, the stock market, the company's doing well, but the stock market confidence level goes down. Well, investors sell, so the actual price on the stock market instantly drops. Regardless of how the company's really doing, it's a perception that takes place in the stock market. Once again, if you get into the stock market, it's a roller coaster. Do not operate in an emotional state. Do not buy or sell in an emotional panic, frantic. Make sure that you look, research, and if you're in it for the long haul, make sure that you know that it's a good, stable company and that you really want to invest in this for more than a year, and you're gonna ride out the waves and the ebbs and flows of it. So make sure that you're aware of that, because it's not a quick, easy get rich scheme, to be honest with you. There's other things that's called options, and you can definitely, with that one, it's more of a day trading type of situation, but that's not something that you should really do unless you feel really comfortable to have that risk level on your side, right? Does that answer your question, Lourdes?
Yeah, it just confirmed what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mike Cruz,
Well,
Mr.
well, diversify, diversify, diversify. So, Lord, this a mixture of stocks and bonds is you're going to hear that a lot, because you want to invest your money into a bonds that now you have to remember there's state bonds, municipal bonds, and federal bonds. So there's different types of bonds and different types of return, and generally they're long term. So it's a stable investment over the long term. That's your stability. That's part of your retirement plan. The other side is the stock market. It's more the stock market's going to be here, and it's been resilient, and it's gone down, but it's also gone up. And so I always watch the stock market numbers every day, and yeah, and it goes up and it goes down. And so you look at the long-term history of the companies that you're investing in, and there should be a growth, continuous growth that has been in the past and currently projected for the future. So, like Lazaro says, the stock market is an adventure. It's a venture. It's an adventure to go into it. But generally, we would not have a stock market, and people would not be investing if people are not making money.
Right.
So the bottom line is the stock market is probably going to benefit most of us. Now, some of us probably will take a loss, but I don't know what the percentage is, but it's got to be a high percentage that people grow their retirement money out of the stock market, because it's still here and it's still growing and people are still investing. Bonds are a good, safe, long-term investment, slow growth, but at least you have that in there. So with me, I'm for me it's CDs, because I can see what I'm getting on my returns, and I don't have 20-year window anymore, more like a 5 or 10 year. So do both. Look into both and see what, and if you have a financial advisor, they're probably going to say diversify, not only in the stock market, but maybe with some bonds or some stable. There are a lot of companies in the stock market that are very stable, slow growth, and they're almost like a bond. So you need to research out those companies that you might want to. These are the old, like maybe like an IBM or whatever, that or Ford, or companies that have been around, that have a good product, and it's a slow growth thing, but it's incremental. So there are some companies that are slower growth. Then there's the high risk companies, the venture capitalist money, the space companies, the AI companies. They're all out there. They want your money, and a high risk, high gains.
Yep.
High risk, high losses. So beware.
Yeah. So just a personal example. A couple years ago, I actually went into Robinhood and I opened up an account. I put about $3,000 for a year. I actually panicked and I pulled out and I lost the money. Right. Well, fast forward a couple years, I said I'm gonna play more of a long game, and I put in $3,000 again, right? And with that money, I recouped the money that I had lost from the previous one. So I'm at a wash right now. What that means is if you only lose if you sell. If you keep it and you hold on to it and you don't look at it, you will definitely make some money. And in the long haul, it's a little bit better than a regular bank. But once again, this is a risky savings account if you really want to look at it that way. But once again, you only lose if you sell whatever shares you have. And if you sell before 1 year, your capital tax becomes between 38 and 42% of whatever you ended up making. Otherwise, you can declare a loss in your income tax declaration, and that gives you a little bit more incentive to, be able to recoup some of that federal income tax or whatever it is that you do. So you do have to go to a planning individual to be able to do that declaration. So hope that makes sense. And if you decide to venture in experiment more than anything, do it with money that, one, you don't need for rent, for food, for clothing, that you have set aside for exactly that, to make sure and experiment and take yourself in an interesting adventure, and make sure that you fly with that particular mindset on it. Yes, sir.
If you're going to experiment,
Yeah.
do it wisely.
Yeah.
Don't. I mean, when I heard the word experiment, I envisioned, oh, well, we're just going to throw money into this pot and this pot. No, do your research.
Yeah.
Look at the companies. Look at the
Yeah.
history, and then you can experiment wisely.
Yeah.
That's what Lazaro's saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir. That's right. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight on investing in online platforms. For example, we also have Roth IRAs, which is something else. It's not necessarily bonds. It's not necessarily the stock market. It's another type of investment that you can do. And it's for some of them, they're tax deferred, and some of them are taxed after. So that one I am not really too aware of, but I will bring it just for awareness, that you can definitely go into your personal bank and you can definitely look into it. They do have some tax incentives, and it's more of a retirement savings account per se that you can go into. So look into possibly doing that. I know that there are several individuals, as you get closer to retirement, that they start looking to put some of the amount of money that you have, transitioning it from the 401k into a Roth IRA to be able to convert it and to save afterwards versus getting taxed heavily. So I'm not really too aware of the whole specifics, but that's something that I've heard mentioned, and I wanted to bring the terminology and the opportunity of you to research on the Roth and Roth IRAs for those retirement savings accounts that are available through your bank. So just be aware of that. So do we have any questions in regards to retirement strategies here?
Lazaro, I'd like to ask the audience if they could give their insight on their current status of thinking about retirement plans.
Okay.
Elizabeth, Leonardo, Lourdes, and Evelyn, and Victor, what are you thinking right now? We've talked about this. We've kind of brought opportunities for discussion forward, but what is your current thinking? If you don't have a plan, that's fine, but what is your current thinking about retirement?
So I can go ahead and start.
Yeah,
So I'm
totally.
thinking maybe just starting with the high yield savings account, and then maybe and then maybe also a CD.
That's good. That's good. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Evelyn, any thoughts on your side? I don't know if you can turn on your mic. If not, that's okay. Yeah, there we go, Evelyn.
Hi. I think right now I have nothing in mind. I'm just taking in all the information and trying to see what is best for me.
Okay. Thank you. Elizabeth, I don't know if you can turn on your mic.
Hey, yeah. So right now I'm doing like my company match. For me, it's a TSP because I'm in the federal government,
Okay.
and I also have like high yield savings. So
Okay.
it's definitely at top of mind. But
Awesome. Thank you. Lourdes, I know that you were looking into possibly purchasing a property, but you do have an MMA. Any other strategies that you're using?
Um, High deal savings, I think, is like a market savings account. That's kind of what you mentioned.
Yep.
Um, I'm definitely looking into early retirement. So I'm trying to do of like the thinking and the preparation for it. Because while corporate USA is cool, it's not, you know, I don't think I want to do this for 40 years. I
Oh,
think a good 10, 20, and then I'm going to be out of here and live my best life and other stuff.
okay.
So Laura, this is interesting. Early retirement. So,
Yeah.
what is your strategy for early retirement? Share it with the rest of us. What is your plan?
Yeah, so right now I feel like, so I have dual citizenship. So I'm a Mexican citizen as well. And my parents have a lot of property there. They have a farm and they've been investing a lot in stuff over there. And I kind of just want to live a relaxed life. So I'm thinking of maybe doing something like that, like retiring early, traveling for a bit, like without having to worry about PTO or vacations and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then kind of living my best life in Mexico. That's kind of the plan right now, but I need to make everything like ensure that everything's good for the next 5-6 years so that can happen.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the groundwork.
Yeah. So you have an estimated revenue stream that you're thinking about when you retire. So do you want a stream of like $100,000 or a year, or you need a revenue stream as you retire? Yeah, you can go back to Mexico and work with your parents and all that. But are you going to rely on a revenue stream that you accumulated for the first 10 or 15 years of your career? And you say, okay, once I reach that, then I can make my decision.
Yeah. It's more like that. I'm thinking of some numbers. I'm looking into the cost of living in Mexico as well, like just the bills and what does that include and all of that. The bigger picture.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Um, you might also be wondering, I was watching the news last night and they talked about, the mean value or mean salary level to be able to buy a house in San Diego, and it was $357,000. That's for either one person or combined with two people, right? So that means that individuals must be making close to 150,000, 170,000 per if you are married, or you as the individual sole buyer, you need to make 357,000 to buy a mean priced house. In San Diego's house market, it's between 750 to about $950,000 on a mean value of a house, and that's assuming that's a two-bedroom house, but there's additional expenses. A lot of properties now have HOA, so you have to take that into consideration. So that's something that you might want to look into and be aware of if you really wanted to buy a house. Lourdes.
Well, I was just wanted to say that my crazy idea came from like my coworkers who are predominantly older and getting close to retirement,
Okay.
and they did everything right, like with the pension system and everything. They bought a house in like '98. They paid it off early. They're doing so well, and now they're getting to the point where it's 5 years from retirement, like for 65, I think. And they're still the property taxes, insurance is going up, everything's getting a little crazy. And even though they did everything right, it's still not looking so great, right? They still have to do a bunch of other stuff. So I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I don't know if things are gonna get better. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Like you feel like they will, but I don't know because it hasn't been getting better in like 20 years from a retirement perspective, unless you're really good like fundamentally, like Mike Cruz was saying about his
Property.
Yeah.
streams and stuff.
Yeah. So, Laura, what you need to be aware of as you reach retirement, your revenue stream, is it going to grow with you? So for me, I had a government pension. Elizabeth, we have government pension. I get a increase every year, so I've been kind of keeping up with inflation, et cetera, et cetera. And other windfalls have come my way, so that increased my my assets and worth. So as you retire, you're right. Things keep growing, costs keep going up. So your revenue stream has to increase at some point with you. And for me, when I retired, I went back to work as a contractor for several years just to get my Social Security, and that added to my revenue stream. So importantly, as you retire, what is your revenue stream at that point, and does that accommodate you for the near future? And you may have to go back to work for a little bit to put in your savings account, but plan on that. Revenue stream increases.
Okay. Around the room, Victor, any questions or thoughts about the conversation, sir?
It was very informative. I didn't know there were so many investment options, so I'll definitely look into those.
Okay, awesome. Leonardo, any thoughts or comments?
No, I appreciate you and Mike for the advice and the comments as well. I think it'll help me take a better decision.
Okay, thank you. Evelyn, any thoughts, comments?
No, I just want to thank you and everyone for all the information. There was a lot of things that I didn't know about.
Okay, good to hear. Elizabeth, any thoughts or comments?
No, just thank you.
Okay, awesome. Lourdes, any final thoughts or comments?
Just thank you for answering my questions and having this conversation.
Yeah, of course. Mr. Mike Cruz, any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I think the biggest turning point in my life toward retirement was when I had a financial planner come into our laboratory, and that was the first time I had any financial advice. It was like mid-career.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we're kind of espousing some of this stuff early on to you folks, and you need to share it with your mates also. I didn't get that advice until later on, but I had a good pension plan with the government, et cetera. But being aware of your financial planning, and at that point, what really keyed into me, what stuck with me all these years, it says the lady says you need 70% of your last earning years to retire on, and hopefully no debt. So that was the bottom line, and I think it's probably still good today. If you're making 200,000. Hopefully your revenue stream would be 70% of that, 140K a year, and then it would grow with you. And the other thing, you have options. San Diego and Southern California is a wonderful place to stay, but a lot of the people that I know moved out. They went back to Missouri, many years ago, one of my friends sold his house. He bought for $13,000. He sold it for $500,000 or $400,000 at the time. Went back to Missouri, bought 10 acres, a big 5,000 square brick house, and still had money left over. So you have options of where you want to retire. When I was down in Baja, there's a lot of people that retired to Baja, Loreto. There was a whole bunch of expats down there, and so you do have an option of where to live, how you wanted to live. So you want to stay here. You're comfortable with this, family and friends and all that. But some people, they're off to Australia, off to Europe, wherever, South America, and they're finding places to stay. So be mindful of that. You do have options based upon your revenue stream at retirement and your assets and your debt. The world is at your feet, so you can make that choice. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you. It's great insight. And with that, thank you so much. Make educated decisions, and if you want to experiment, be aware that don't do it emotionally. Make sure that you do your research before you jump into any type of investment, be it CDs, be it the Roth IRA, be it a bond, or any high yield savings account, and or any of the online trading apps. Make sure that you know what you're getting into. Everything has a risk, but also your money can sit there and just lose the value that it has, right? If you have it in your under your mattress, which is what a lot of us learned from a lot of our parents, is just keep it in a little coffee jar and just put it there. It's not doing anything for you. So make sure that you have that money work for you. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us and bounce ideas. We're not going to take your money. We're not here to benefit and profit from you. We're here to guide you and give you some advice. Like Lourdes said, also, if you want to retire somewhere else in a different country, for example, make sure that you know what the benefits and or the drawbacks are, and make sure that you have a plan for yourself. It's never too early to start thinking about retirement. Your retirement plan can shape, shift, and modify as you get closer to that age. If you have a target, if you have a goal, you're more prone to achieve it versus just going day to day and saying, a ver qué dice Dios. It's never going to materialize, never going to happen. So if you have something in mind in your visual board, you'll definitely achieve it. So make sure that you have that. That's why we have this type of conversations, to bring awareness, to have exposure, and to share some of the things that I learned at a later age, and Mr. Mike Cruz also attested to that, so that you at a younger age, younger generation, can definitely benefit from those mistakes and avoid making and overcoming those obstacles a lot faster, and Lourdes, so you can retire a little bit faster than we are, right? So with that, thank you so much for joining Cafecito Chats. We'll definitely see you next week. Hasta luego. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching another wonderful episode of Success Innovation Cafecito Chats. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Hasta luego.